Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be running a bunch of Oblivion pillars to see if they're really worth all the hassle. Let's go. So this is actually my first time running an Oblivion pillar, simply because obviously when they first landed in game, it was bugged for a lot of people. People were trying to use their Terra Essence to open one and it wasn't working. Some were losing their essences, some were getting them back in their mail. I just didn't want to risk it, so I kind of just haven't used them for that. All I've used my Terra Essence for is doing the Terra bounties with my friends. So the reason I thought I would make a video for this today is simply so that we can see exactly how these Oblivion pillars look. They have different affixes on them. You can see on the tab on the left hand side there, this affix is Lightning Storm. So that will change with each Oblivion pillar that we do, and it will have a different affix. Also different bosses spawn and different monsters as well. So I just thought I'd do a few so that we can have an idea of what to expect from them. Also, for anyone that watched the Diablo video, the patch notes, or watched my patch notes video, you'll know that the eternal legendary gear that can only be found in Terra Rifts, Terra Bounties, or these Oblivion pillars, it was kind of sold to us as being the most powerful legendary gear we've ever seen. Those are pretty much the exact words from the developers. However, I don't really agree with this. From the Eternal gear that I found so far, they never have the skills that I use. It's always for skills that I don't use in any of my builds, which isn't helpful whatsoever. I found a few pieces of Eternal gear. The combat rating on it sucks every time. It's always less than what I've got. And a lot of people have been also finding and mentioning that since the Eternal gear is dropped in game, we all seem to be having trouble finding gear with that critical hit chance. So I'm not sure really what is up with that, but basically since I've hit Inferno 6, my crit chance has dropped to just 14% because I cannot find any gear that has critical hit chance. So whether that is to try and force us to use the Eternal gear, I don't know, but from what I've seen so far and what I've gained in Eternal gear so far, it hasn't been worth it for me. So I'm hoping that as we do this video, we'll be able to find some decent Eternal gear that I will actually be able to use that might use some of the skills. I have several different builds, so it shouldn't be that hard to find something with a skill on that I use, but clearly it has so far. I'm going to run 5 of these Oblivion pillars in total so that we can have a look at the different affixes, the different bosses that you might have to face, and monsters and effects and everything as well. So our next one, we are heading to Frozen Tundra. I'm going to just cut this video slightly because for some reason we are miles away from where the Oblivion pillar actually is. So I just edited part of my journey out to this because the video is already going to be long enough as it is from running so many of these Oblivion pillars. So for now, I'll let you watch for a little bit and we'll join back together in a sec. So for this Oblivion pillar, the affix is Magma Sniper, which you will probably see in a second there on the ground. You can see that burning magma. And we're on wave 4 now, so the boss will appear shortly. Now, for the build that I've used for this, you can see I've got ice armor, and I have this with 2 essences on. So I have the Halted Breath chest and the Hailstone offhand. So this gives me pretty much 100% uptime on ice armor. So that basically I'm not really taking any damage until that shield has gone down. The reason why I went in with this is because I did have the Butcher show up in a Oblivion pillar that I tried out a couple of days ago, and he actually took me down like really quickly, so it was a bit frustrating because I think it has better drops when you face the Butcher at the end. I'm not sure, but obviously the different bosses are different difficulties. So here we've got Igonicus, which is like pretty easy to defeat. But yeah, that is the second Oblivion pillar defeated or completed, whichever you want to call it. Still no drop of one of those new Eternal gear pieces, so not looking good so far. I would have expected at least 1 legendary from doing 2 of these. I mean, to be fair, like if you've gone through the trouble of finding the stupid Terra Essence anyway, surely whatever task you do after that, it should guarantee you a legendary. I don't know. I guess you do get the Beguiling Dust, which for some people is useful, but for players like myself that have been in game for a long time, there's so many of us that have our gear maxed out and we do not need more Beguiling Dust. Now I wanted to test out here activating this shrine. So I've got the Empowered Shrine here, and I wanted to see if it still worked once activating the Oblivion Pillar, and it looks like it's still active. Let's see if my attack speed... Yeah, so if you see a shrine on your way to an Oblivion Pillar, 100% activate it, especially if it is something like the Empowered Shrine or Lightning, anything like that, or even the Alchemical Shrine. That will give you a huge benefit during the Oblivion Pillar, because you will basically have either enhanced attack speed or the lightning effect, or obviously with the Alchemical Shrine you'll actually be able to halt and pause the monsters from moving, so it could be quite useful. Now with this Oblivion Pillar, you can see the affix has changed again. So we've got Shrinking Prison, which is basically you can't move very fast. You get those like poison circles come up on the ground that you would have seen just now, and it makes it a lot harder to move. I think that's what that effect is anyway, it looks like it. So we've got the Sanguine Queen here to defeat. This one seemed a little bit quicker because of having that Empowered Shrine active. My attack speed isn't that great on Wizard. I do have 4 pieces of Vitus and 4 pieces of Grace equipped for this, but my attack speed still isn't that great because obviously the attack speed buff from Vitus doesn't last for the whole time that it's active or whatever. But yeah, this one doesn't seem to have taken so long. Obviously, like I said, different bosses have the different difficulties and the different attacks. So with the Sanguine Queen, the one thing you have to look out for is the bats attacks that she does, because they can be quite fast and cause quite a lot of damage, and also this attack as well. But we still managed to complete this one. Is there going to be a legendary drop or eternal drop? No. Third Oblivion Pillar done, and still no gear. Okay, let's move on to the 4th one and see where it's taking us. So back in Frozen Tundra, and we have that Ice Burst affix for this Oblivion Pillar. Now, one thing that I will mention is it does tell you obviously which wave of monsters you're on, but it's really hard to tell unless you actually look at the sidebar, because they just constantly come at you when you're doing these Oblivion Pillars. So it's hard to actually keep track unless you look at that. Here is the Ice Burst affix, so that's quite a difficult one to avoid. It can be quite hard to get out of that, and we have some monsters with large area effect attacks here as well. So trying to avoid all of these in this one is a little bit harder than some of the other ones that we've just completed. However, these monsters move a lot slower, so it's not as bad as it could be. Some of the monsters obviously attack a lot faster than others or move a lot quicker than others, so this one is quite nice and easy. So we're now on the last wave of monsters, and the boss should spawn. Yeah, we've got Zolthrax here. So this isn't the worst boss that you can get for an Oblivion Pillar, although some of his attacks are obviously a little bit faster than some of the other bosses. But yeah, if you've run Pit of Anguish a few times, you'll know what to expect to some extent. Although some of the attacks from these bosses are slightly different in Oblivion Pillars, I've noticed they do have some slightly different attacks than they do when you actually face them in dungeons and things like that. So hopefully we might get a legendary or eternal gear piece drop this time. Let's go ahead and open the chest and see. Have we got something there hiding behind the pillar? Yeah, so we've got some shoulders here, and we'll identify them after we've run the last pillar. And oh, we've got a treasure goblin here. We'll just kill him and hopefully, never know, you might get another legendary item. Sadly not, but some gold and some more scraps. So I'm just going to salvage all of my scraps here, get my pet to salvage all that for me. So we're going to run one more Terra Essence for one last Oblivion Pillar, see if we get any more legendaries. I mean, 5 pillars, you'd hope for more than one, but let's just go and see. So this is the 5th and final Oblivion Pillar that I'm going to do for this video, and we once again have the lightning affix here, and these monsters with this really hard attack to avoid, especially when they're all hitting you at once. Unfortunately, I didn't find a shrine on the way to this one, so I don't have any extra buffs on my build other than the ones that I've got from my set items and the skills that I've got equipped. So no extra buffs here, unfortunately, and those, they're really hard to miss, all of those blades. We have Zolthrax again, so nothing too exciting with this one. This Oblivion Pillar wasn't too different to any of the ones that we've done already. So we'll just take them down. We'll hope for another piece of Eternal Gear. I'm not really gonna get too excited for it because, I mean, the chances seem pretty slim. As I already mentioned, I feel like once you've got that Terra Essence, any task that you do using that Terra Essence should kind of guarantee you a legendary, because it's a waste of time otherwise. Like, this is actually taking quite a long time to do all of these Oblivion Pillars. Let's see if we have a legendary Eternal Gear. Nope, just more scraps that I'm not going to be able to do anything with. So let's now go ahead and destroy this last pillar, and then head to Westmarch and identify this one piece of Eternal Gear that I found. So it looks like it is actually an upgrade. So this Disintegrate Rays increased by 1. Targets hit by multiple rays receive damage equal to 1 ray, and critical hit damage is also increased on this one. So we also have these pants that I got from a Terra Rift, but they are not really any use to me. So the Disintegrate, however, yeah, critical hit damage increased by 4.5%. Unfortunately, it doesn't have critical chance. But this is an okay piece, and I'll swap it out for my builds that do use Disintegrate and let you know how I get on with that. But that is it from me today. I hope you found this video helpful. As always, thank you for watching and have a great day.